Psychological projection is very overt in manipulation, and it's something that you may not realize that you're even doing, but you can definitely see when other people do it to you. So let's talk about it so you can understand it so you can stop and protect yourself today.
Check it out.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori, and I'm so excited that you are here. We are in September. One of my favorite parts of the year is coming up October through December and even later this month. If you are on Patreon, you will get our once a month bonus episode. Now, you always will have a bonus episode every single month, but you also get the 4 regular episodes that complement this podcast. So every week I do a podcast that has this podcast. Over on Patreon, we do the worksheet and it gives you a good place to start and a good place to reflect. But then once a month, if you're in the higher tier, you get an additional bonus. And this month has been very well requested over there. And that is understanding the 5 journals, why I recommend 5 journals, why they're important, why that's transformational. So if you're in the abundance tier, you will get that today. So if that's your jam, you can hop over to Patreon and join us at patreon.com// the positivity experience. So let's go into psychological projection. This is such a huge one that I deal with a lot of my clients on. And we'll talk about the overt manipulation towards the end. You have no idea how often that you project onto other people. An example of that would be like, well, I know how they feel. You don't know how they feel. You're not them. Well, yeah, but I know how they felt because, I went through that. Yeah, 2 different feelings though. People project on a regular basis. People project their insecurities onto another person. Oh, good Lord. You see that all the time. Judgment. Hello. People who judge people. That's projection of themselves. You are projecting to avoid who you are, to avoid how you feel. You are projecting. So I want to talk to you about it. What is a psychological projection? I think we should probably evaluate that and establish that early on. It is a defense mechanism. People will do it all the time. And it's where people constantly will attribute their own insecurities and their own unacceptable feelings and thoughts or impulses onto somebody else. So what that does is it allows that individual to avoid that within themselves. Because think about this. How many times have you thought, I would much rather do this than work on myself, whatever it is. I'd rather sit on the couch. I'd rather do blank, blank, blank to avoid myself. So when you're doing that, you're avoiding who you are. Same thing with judgment. Same exact thing with judgment. I'm going to judge someone because I feel as though they were rude for telling me no, thank you. When, oh my God, they could have just been a little bit nicer and said, well, I'd like to have a rain check or I'd like to do this. You immediately project what you think they feel about you based on your own insecurity. Well, okay, I guess they just don't want me to be around because they said no. No, maybe they don't want anybody to be around. And you're right. Maybe they don't want you to be around, but that has nothing to do with who you are as value. One has nothing to do with the other. So when you're sitting in insecurity, you're projecting your insecurity by saying, this is what this person thinks. And then you create an entire story. You're writing a movie now. Now you're like, well, I don't know. I don't know why they would even be upset with me. We were just together last week. Now suddenly they don't want to come. They just said no. Okay, because they can say no. And no is not a rejection. See, people look at no as a rejection. No means this is not in alignment. No, you didn't get the job. You weren't rejected for the job. You just didn't align with the job. Oh man, I wanted this relationship to work. I tried all I could. And at the end of the day, they said that they just don't want to be with me. You took that as rejection. You personalized it. You're just not in their connective field anymore. So if you're constantly looking at things as rejection, you're going to constantly see things as rejection. Things people say, things people do. And then you say, well, I don't understand why, I try all I can. This is where people pleasing comes into play. I try everything I can and they still just don't like me. Well, first of all, you're projecting that they don't like you. And again, just because you're not in alignment with somebody doesn't mean that it has anything to do with you. And that's, oh my God, that's so important because you are avoiding it. People avoid. So you'll see this a lot when it's projected upon you. People are avoiding addressing themselves because they don't want to. A person who is angry but can't accept their emotions, because anger, think of anger as an umbrella. You're popping up an umbrella. It's anger. You're not angry. Angry is an assortment of 3 different emotions. Fear, so you're like, shit, I'm afraid. Okay, so fear, frustration. Now you're frustrated about something, or your feelings got hurt. It can be all 3 of those, but that's what anger is. And that also comes into play when you have no emotional regulation, when you struggle with regulating emotions. Yes, there are disorders that make that harder. There are disorders that can be problematic when you're trying to regulate that. It's not impossible. Okay, it's going to take a lot of work. It's challenging. But when you don't know how to process emotion, you will very often put that up upon somebody. And then you're saying, oh my God, why are they so angry? Like, oh my God, why are you so angry? Because you're not them. And now you don't understand, well, maybe you're telling yourself that they're angry, but they're just establishing a boundary, and they're establishing a boundary and you don't like the boundary. So now you've established it as angry. No can just be no. A boundary doesn't have to be angry. A boundary can be assertive. A boundary is not aggressive. It is assertive. Period. It's an assertive situation. So you immediately take no, or you immediately allow someone to project their insecurity upon you. Well, I can't believe that you're not going to come over today. What do you mean no? I really needed you to come over. So now there's this entitlement of like, you should be there at the drop of a hat. That's a psychological projection. This person owes me blank. They don't. It's a projection that I do this. I expect this from you, but I'm not going to establish it. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm really happy to do this for you, but hey, I kind of like that in return. Establish that ahead of time. So then when it doesn't happen, now you're like, that person is trying to disrespect me. They're doing all of those things. They don't even realize that they're doing it half the time. And maybe they do. That's where the boundary comes into play. So then you say this person is acting this way when they say no. This person is acting aggressive, or they're angry, or they're mean. But deep down inside, you say yes to everything, and you're tired of saying yes to everything. So when somebody says no to you, you're afraid of saying no because you think somebody's going to get mad at you. And you know what it's like when somebody says no to you. So now you feel some kind of way. And it's this cycle. So you got to be careful of that. Feeling guilt about somebody's own behavior, they're going to accuse someone else of being wrong. I know you've seen this. Gaslighting is hell. So here's an example of that. Okay, you two of you, it doesn't matter what the relationship. Let's say it's somewhat of a close relationship. And in that relationship, this person gets constantly jabbing, like trying to get a rise out of you. And doesn't really get a rise out of you at all. Or, you get annoyed by it and you're like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to engage in this. And so you walk off. But before you walk off, they say all kinds of stuff. Oh my God, you're ungrateful. I can't believe you're doing this. You hurt my feelings. How could you ever do this to me? You're wrong. I mean, it goes on this whole thing because, by the way, that does happen. That does happen because somebody who doesn't have the regulation, they're drowning, right? So they're like, oh my God, I got to throw any life raft out there so I can cling to it. So now you've walked out, you're gone. So it's like 2 or 3 days later, they've tried calling you, you just kind of gray rocked. You're like, I'm good. Like I've said before, I'm not going to allow myself to be spoken to that way. I don't really need to foster this relationship much anymore. I'll see them at the holidays and that's it. Maybe if I feel like doing that. So you catch them out somewhere. Or they say, hey, do you have a second? I really want to talk to you. And you're like, oh, that's fine. And they come over and they say to you, hey, listen, I know, I was really over the top last week. I'm really sorry that I was over the top last week, but okay, this is where it all ends. Okay. That was a BS half apology because but is coming into play. So everything just got nullified. But I can't believe that you walked away. So I felt as though you were disrespecting me because you walked away and I just didn't know how to respond to that. So I lashed out. Okay. So you're blaming me because I walked away because I wasn't going to deal with it, because I wasn't going to engage in it. as mentioned in my boundary, I would walk away. So I walk away and you feel some kind of way that I walked away. So you lashed out. And now a couple of days later, you're coming, or a week or whatever, you're coming back to me and you're saying, okay, my bad. Like I knew I was wrong for like this second. And then you made it about me. It's my fault. That is psychological projection. It's also gaslighting. It's also manipulation, but it is psychological projection because they don't want to take that ownership within themselves of just saying, my bad. Like, that's it. My bad. It doesn't matter what caused it. My reactions are my responsibility. Their reactions are their responsibilities. My bad. I'm really sorry. I mean, they could say, hey man, I was going through something that day. It doesn't make it right. I just want to let you know. That's emotional maturity. When someone can't deal with their own guilt, some people just can't admit that they're wrong. You're like, it's not that difficult. Just say, okay, my bad. I'm sorry. I did this. Own your stuff. That's confident. Avoiding and blaming is the opposite of confident. Avoiding and blaming demonstrates so much insecurity. So when you're doing that, you're projecting that because now you've made it somebody else's issue. So it can't be you, right? So you can't take accountability for it because you're feeling some kind of way. You're like, damn, should I have said that? Man, okay. Oof, I think I did go off the deep end. But instead of going, okay, what was I experiencing? Okay, well, my feelings were a little hurt. Okay, I got my feelings hurt because I had a certain expectation. And then that didn't work. And then I got a little upset because I got very upset because it didn't work. That's my ego. Okay, that's you addressing that feeling. Why are you having that feeling? What is the root of that feeling? What do you still need to work on within that feeling? Not, oh man, this feels uncomfortable. Oh God, I don't like this. Well, it didn't. I wouldn't have even felt this way if they didn't do this. If they didn't do this, I wouldn't have to feel so bad. So now, not only is it their fault that you came out of your face some kind of way, it's also their fault because they didn't. Like, it becomes this vicious cycle and you start going, wow, everything is a problem. The projection of that, when you psychologically project upon others, no matter which side it is, you are avoiding yourself on the highest levels. So if someone feels like, ooh, I shouldn't have said that, or ooh, I don't know why I did that, they're going to often, if you don't have self-awareness, if you're not in a healing state, they're going to take accountability a little bit, but blame you for it because they don't want the discomfort of saying, okay, my bad, my ego got bruised, and I'm going to set that aside. Now, there's something called attributive projection. And that's attributing your feelings onto others on how they should feel. I'm serious. You will see this a lot. Say you're talking to somebody and they're angry about something. They're upset about something. And you, okay, well, I understand. That some people will literally go, I can't believe that you don't feel some kind of way because I'm mad. What do you want me to feel? Well, I'd like you to feel bad. Okay, so you're projecting that upon me. Another way of doing that is saying, I know how they feel because I went through blank. That's what I was saying in the top of the podcast. You're attributing your feelings and you're projecting them onto other people on how they should feel. I know you've heard this. You should feel ashamed of yourself for not doing blank, for not calling blank. You should feel ashamed of yourself. So what are they avoiding? Well, they're avoiding the fact that they have ego of insecurity because they need the validation of having people around them because they don't like change and they like the image. And the moment that something has changed and somebody has their own thought pattern, they don't like that. And they've now made it about them and they're insecure. So now it's your problem. I can't believe that you did that. You're wrong. You should feel ashamed of yourself. So they're going to often kind of mess with your mind a little bit where you're like, I mean, okay, God, should I have done that? No, you should do what it is that you feel aligns with you. That's what you should do. But what they're going to do is they're going to project that feeling onto you about how you should feel. You should feel bad that. You should feel sad that. You should feel guilty because they're literally projecting that and telling you what you should feel. Blame shifting. Oh my God, this is a big one. Holding others responsible for your own mistakes and problems goes back to what I was saying. I am holding you responsible because you walked away and didn't address me. I'm holding you responsible for the fact that I went off on you. It's your fault. What does that sound like? Narcissism on its highest level. That's exactly what that is. But blame shifting. Well, and I even did this in the Patreon episode for this is, you say, okay, I had this presentation due at work, and you're doing it with somebody, and you ask that person 2 weeks ago, hey, can you get me the blah, blah, blah information so I can write out this big presentation that we're doing? Yeah, okay. And they just don't. I mean, you asked one more time and they didn't, but they've been out busy and they're doing all that. Yeah, I will. And now we do the presentation and the presentation kind of falls apart. Now it's all this other person's fault. Well, all they had to do was give me the information I needed. Well, yeah, you could also have been a little bit more assertive and not had an ego of like, well, I don't want to ask them anymore. Okay. And then your presentation itself, you were tired that day. You didn't feel good. You had a sore throat. You just didn't like the presentation. You didn't feel like doing it in the first place. So you showed up, but it was kind of like, yeah, all right. Okay, well, just own that. Not every day you're going to hit that out of the park, but it isn't just because this person didn't give you that, the presentation. You can have a discussion about it. You'll know different going forward, but don't blame them for the whole presentation going kablooey. It's not just one person. You see this a lot in relationships. I do a lot of couples counseling and I see it a lot. It's always this person, always this person. It's never one person. Okay. It's never one person. It's never this person did this and only this person did. Nope. It takes two people. Two. Was there too much people pleasing? Was there betrayal? Was there too much people pleasing? And then you feel like, oh my God, I gave everything and I should have left, but I didn't because I wanted it to get better. And then this happened. So then there was an expectation here and this person didn't check out and this person didn't check out. Both people have culpability. So blame shifting, we're not going to do. That's big projection. Then there's something called projective identification. So this is like, take both of those and marry them together. Like if we're doing attachment theory, this would be like a disorganized attachment. And it's a little bit more complex in process, but it's where someone projects those feelings onto someone, but then behaves in a way that makes those feelings come to fruition. And then they can go, yep, I knew you felt that way. Well, what? Okay, so you put the projection on what somebody should feel. And then you created an action to manipulate it to where they feel what it is that you projected onto them. And now they're wrong. And now you knew that they were wrong. Like you knew. I knew how they felt. No, you told them how they felt. And then you put them in a position to react as such. And now you're saying you knew. Nope. That's projective identification. It's very toxic. So you may find that, right? Where somebody, I know you know these people, and hopefully it's at some point it might have been you, hopefully it's not anymore. You ever see those people who go, I don't like drama. I do not like drama at all. But there's like 8 different dramas, and they're always like, where's Waldo? They're always like in the corner, and you're like, common like theme here, right? So a person comes to you and they say, Michelle was talking about you, right? Because now we're gossiping. So now they want you to be mad. They want you to feel some kind of way because that's how they would feel. Okay. They want this. So now we're projecting. That's attributive projection. So you're literally putting that on them. And now you're going to word it and you're going to position it for them to feel how you would feel. No. Not at all. But that is a real thing. Projective identification. It is so toxic in trait. So toxic in trait. And that's why it's complex, because there's these underlying issues. But think about how bad and how hard you must be avoiding yourself to put a feeling on how somebody should feel and then change the narrative and create a scenario where that person has to act the way that you want them to feel. Oh my God, how much could a person be resisting within themselves? It is not everybody else. It is not everybody else. It is not everybody else. I'm going to tell you that. It is you. You determine when you're going to address your own stuff. And what it does is it also distorts your reality. It will distort reality. So someone is projecting something onto you or whatever, whoever the you is. You are projecting that. This is where I will tell you, what you seek, you shall find. here's where the insecurity comes into play. You're talking to somebody, okay? You're dating somebody, right? Or you're considering dating them and you're kind of into it, but now you're insecure. So before you even got in that relationship, you should have dealt with that. But now here you are. You didn't tell anybody you were going through it. Now you're holding everybody to some weird standard. You feel some kind of way. I will always tell you, you never go through someone's phone. You never go through their socials. If you feel as though you have to, it's time to get out. Don't do it. Just get out. But for the sake of the conversation, we're going to say that you went through their phone. In a text, I call everybody babe, love. I say love you. I say that to most of my clients. That's just who I am. That's how I'm always going to be. And your partner does not tell you that they are seeing me for any specific reasonings or direction. Nope, they don't tell you because quite frankly, it's not your business. And you see me saying, all right, cool. Can't wait to see you at 1, babe. Talk to you soon. Well, now you have projected that that person is having an affair. You have projected that no way in the world is that person not having an affair. What are they holding from you? What secrets are they keeping? What is it that you have just caught them in? So now you make a big deal about this. Big deal. But listen, I'm not saying people don't cheat, but if people want to cheat, they will cheat. If people want to do something, they will do something, whether you want them to, whether you can control it or not. If you're waiting to control a scenario, you don't own people. We've discussed this before. It's impermanent. You are connected, not attached. That's a problem. So now you've made a big stink about this. And your partner says to you, okay, yeah, first of all, ew, why are you going through my stuff? That's a deal breaker. Somebody's going through your stuff, deal breaker from the get. And now they say to you, well, it's my coach counselor. Oh yeah, I bet it is your coach counselor. What is she counseling you on? What is she coaching you in? Nothing. Here's her information if you'd like to call her. Right? So now you've projected that somebody is doing some dirt. You projected this. So now you sought it out and now you found something you thought was something that was nothing. You've ended up calling me and I'm like, hey, how are you? Oh, is this what you do? Yeah. Oh, okay. Is such and such a client? I'm not going to tell you that because that's private. I'd be like, well, this is what I do if you'd like to. Okay. So now it starts to make sense. Now you start feeling some kind of way. Now we blame shift. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I know I shouldn't have gone through the phone, but you know what? Like you had just been distant. Oh, now we're blaming the person for your insecurity because they didn't let you go through their phone because privacy. And now that's a problem. That's why projection is terrible. It's psychological projection, and it's easier to blame someone than take accountability for what it is that you're dealing with. Now, that's the projection and the manipulation. Accusing someone, too, for being manipulative is taking away from your own responsibility of your manipulation. It's very overt. Very overt. So you say, oh, you're trying to manipulate me by saying I was wrong by going through your phone, but I didn't know what I was going to find. What? How's that a thing? So projections can get extremely, extremely toxic. It usually is. Gaslighting, right? You're making somebody second guess themselves. I can't, well, okay, that's fine. I mean, my bad. I'm sorry I went through your phone, but like you're gaslighting. You are projecting something and then you're gaslighting it when someone goes, well, that's not how I saw it at all. Like, yeah, I didn't really feel that way. This is how I felt. And you go, no, you didn't. What? No, I know how you feel. I know how you feel. I've been there before. I know exactly how you feel. You do not know exactly how somebody feels. So that lets you know that you feel the need to control the scenario. Your ego is in play. You're not letting something go because you have unhealed trauma. In that unhealed trauma, you are projecting that everybody else is somehow or another out to get you. Everybody is out to hurt you. Everybody is out to get over on you. And the reality is that's not the fact. Listen, I mean, it happens. I'm not going to say it never happens. I mean, it does. But if you're holding out anything and you're trying to gaslight somebody and thinking that they're wrong, the other side of that is don't stand there for it. Boundaries. Listen, I'm not going to allow myself to be accused of something that I've not been accused of. I'm going to exit from this relationship or I'm going to exit from this place or whatever it is. Don't feed into it. Don't try to argue because again, you're trying to argue a scenario. And then while you're arguing the scenario and then they get reactive, now you go, I caught you in something. There's no winning. That's why you disengage. You disengage, you're guilty. Oh, what are you trying to avoid? You don't want to talk about it. You engage. Oh, you're being defensive. That means you're guilty. What the hell? There's no win in that. You don't do this, it's not enough. You do this, it's too much. Not your problem. People are projecting that because they're trying to trap you into something, trying to prove a point. Why would you ever want to be in a relationship that way? Projection of insecurity, projection of control. So literally, that's why that can be so damn toxic. Conflict avoidance is another projection and is another manipulation. Conflict avoidance can be very manipulative because you're avoiding the issue completely, or you're, insinuating blame. To avoid a situation means that you're avoiding a level of rejection within yourself, a level of fear, a level of vulnerability. The list is endless here. You're avoiding something. When you avoid something, you are projecting how that person's going to respond based on how it was responded to in the past, right? I mean, that's real. You had experiences. No one says that they're not real. Those are real life experiences. But don't bring that into this situation. So when you're avoiding it, it doesn't make it go away. The gray elephant is still the gray elephant. The gray elephant is still the gray elephant. Now, you might have to dismantle it little by little. It's a weird saying, but it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's a little freaking weird, but I get what they're saying. They're saying this big task, you break it down into bite-sized pieces. And that's where you have to go deep within yourself and say, why is it that I'm afraid of this conversation and somebody exiting my life? Why am I afraid to look at my attachments? So it can't be them. It's you. Because what you're doing in that entire thing is you're avoiding something to keep something from being uncomfortable. Projection. Because now you're like, well, that's uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable. I can't believe that this is happening. You're just simply projecting. You got to be so careful in that, because all of that projection is not only harming you, it's harming every single relationship that you're ever going to have. Ever. That's scary. That's scary. Really think about how scary that is. I'm going to avoid feeling uncomfortable forever. How scary is that? Oh, I don't know that I want to deal with that. Isn't it scarier to think that you got to constantly run from things? I understand it's trauma. I understand it's experience, but don't run from it. It doesn't make it go away. You can't keep running from things. Defense mechanism is a defense mechanism that protects your ego. People don't always want to admit that they were incorrect in something, or that they were wrong in something, or they were wrong in how they feel or what they said. So it's the defensiveness of whatever it is in that projection is protecting the ego. It's not really protecting the ego. It's not at all. What causes that projection to? Low self-esteem. Everything I sit here and talk to you about that isn't about growth mentality, well, even then, is going to be rooted in low self-esteem. Because it's difficult for you to accept your flaws as part of normal life. We all have flaws, more than one, sometimes many, many, many. Embrace them. Yeah, work on them if you can, but some of them are just going to be there. Some of them are just going to be traits. So the low self-esteem comes into, I got to be perfect, some level of got to be perfection. I got to be perfect. Oh, I got to do everything for this person. Now we're going into people pleasing. But you're avoiding dealing with your own life and the fact that, you know what? This may always be a part of who you are, but until then, let's build our confidence. How can you build your confidence? You do the things you don't want to do. You do them frequently. You put yourself in uncomfortable positions. You don't avoid it. See how these things are all coming into play? Because now, again, a person posts something on socials. You think it's passive aggressive. You say that it's about you. You say the podcast is about you. You say this is about you. You say, oh, well, they didn't invite me, so they must hate me. Nope, they just didn't want you to come to the thing because you don't really like it, so they're not going to invite you. You're anticipating and you're projecting what you think somebody is feeling or thinking based on your own insecurity, which again is unresolved trauma. We know where that comes from. When you have unresolved trauma, it is always going to be standing in the corner, tapping you on the shoulder. Why have you not dealt with it? Avoidance. There is a high level of avoidance when it comes to dealing with conflict. What are you afraid of? Okay, well, before, when I was younger, I had conflict and I was afraid of the conflict, and it was never good for me. And, I was always made to feel stupid, and these people were always angry. I understand that. And that's why you want to deal with that. You want to deal with the fact that not everybody are those people. It never invalidates your trauma. It gives you the power to go, okay, well, damn, I'm here now. What am I going to do with it? And sometimes you just have no self-awareness. You are not aware of anything. And I did a whole podcast episode like just recently on self-awareness that I would highly recommend that you go listen to. And in that self-awareness, you'll be more inclined to see things from your own perspective. You have to be self-aware in your own contribution to your misery, because pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, and you contribute a lot to that. So when you don't have self-awareness, it becomes more than problematic. It becomes difficult for you to trust. It becomes difficult for you to be vulnerable. It becomes difficult for you to just address it in the first place. And, what does that look like? And where does that overtness come into play? Guilt tripping. Guilt tripping, we know, is master manipulation. So now you're going into guilt tripping. Now that's a problem. And now we're doing this. This is where the projections become overt. That's not how you feel, because you wouldn't feel that way. So no, that's not how you feel, because they did feel that way, but you don't think that was good because that's not how you felt. Gaslighting. Aggression. Shouting and intimidation. Right? People will project in a regular way of being aggressive, not assertive. Because if you don't recognize assertion, you're going to call that aggression. Assertive is this is how it is, kind of like this how it is. Aggressive is, I'm going to try to get you to apologize or get you to see it or stop feeling a certain way. Of course, there's direct pressure, where it's like ultimatums and threats. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. But you know what? If you don't do this, I am out. Okay, that's an ultimatum. Not to be confused with a boundary. So the next time, and again, very helpful on Patreon, there's a whole worksheet that talks about you addressing yours, but also responses that you can give people who are. When people are judging you, it is always about them. It is never, ever about you. It is about them. So if you're the one judging and you're the one projecting, it's about you. Use that as a good thing. This is rooted in science. This is rooted in psychology. That's how psychological projection comes into play. That's why people go, oh my God, it's nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. At work, oh my God, or anywhere, I got to have this talk. Oh my God, I don't want to have this talk. It's going to be terrible. That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Well, yeah, because you projected the worst outcome. You projected your insecurity. You projected the level of self-sabotage. You projected. So that's the wrap on psychological projection. It's real and it's problematic. And people do it on a regular basis. People want you to think like they think. Don't you see this? This is how I would feel. Do better because I would feel guilty or I would feel this way. Well, a no is a complete sentence. And if you would give more of an explanation because you think it's rude, that's on you. The other person doesn't have to. Now you're projecting you think it's rude because you were told saying no was rude as a kid. So this is unresolved issue. So now you think it's wrong for somebody else to do it because you were told it was wrong for you. That's projection. So it gives you something to look into. Self-awareness is where things are going to change for you. Self-awareness, lowering your ego, accepting that you have culpability into your own suffering, accepting that no matter how bad it was, you're in control of that now. You are responsible for that now. You are responsible for your own happiness. Ask clarity questions. Listen, people are going to lie to you. Oh my gosh, did I do something? Are you upset with me? No, I'm not upset with you. Let's say they're not upset with you. Asking them 87,000 times, they're going to get upset with you. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But if you sit there and you need to know the answer and you need to know it's not you and you need to do all of that, you're projecting your insecurity. You're projecting the lack of self-esteem onto somebody else. You are saying, you have to make me feel valid. I need you to tell me I am valid. I need you to listen to me so then I know that I matter, because I didn't matter growing up. Do you see how these projections come into play? That's why so much of it is rooted in past trauma. And you know that you haven't healed a lot of that based on how much you project. But when somebody else does it, you are welcome to say, I do not think that this is about me. You're projecting upon me, and I'm not going to be on the other end and allow that projection to happen. Now, just know that they're going to get defensive because you put the mirror back on them. People don't like to see a mirror of themselves often. And it's easier to shift blame. But you got to ask yourself, are you projecting onto people? Are you assuming you know what they think? Are you assuming that what somebody posts on socials or a podcast or anywhere else is about you? Are you assuming that? Are you assuming that when somebody says no, it's because they don't like you? Are you assuming that you didn't get that job because someone lied about you and nobody had it? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Most things you have no facts for. You're going off of projection, and don't let anybody ever project upon you. It's going to create problems for you in every relationship. You're not going to trust anybody. So, are you projecting, and are you allowing yourself to be projected upon?